I received a couple letters. The first from Steve Stengham. When I think of Western North Dakota ranches, there is no better representation of family ranch operation than the Olson Ranch. The Olson Ranch dates back to the Long X Trail days, which were full of history and the rugged way of life for cowboys. The Olson Ranch sits on the end of the Long X Trail in McKenzie County, and while visiting the ranch, the days of the old-style Western North Dakota come back to life. Spending time in this historic ranch, you start to appreciate the rugged West, full of times past, but yet times of the present. You can appreciate what the ranch has been, countless days of branding, dust storms, blizzards, and sunshine, located in the most picturesque and most scenic part of Western North Dakota. When Ole T. Olson started the ranch in the middle of North Dakota Badlands in 1897, trails were the only means of travel. Grocery shopping, which required careful planning, took place 2 times a year due to the rugged terrain on horseback to get needed supplies. The historic Badlands, rightfully named because they were tough to cross in the horse-drawn wagon. Bridges and roads weren't available until a long time into the future. The Olsons had to care for their cattle and horses through times of plenty, drought, hot summer days, and frigid winters, times when money was tight and times when prices were good. Neighbors had to help neighbors and friends because you needed their help just as much as they needed you. Often there wasn't anybody else to help you, so you either figured it out or built your own tools to complete the needed project. I've known 3 of the 4 generations that have called the Olson Ranch home. My dad, Lee Stengham, knew all 4 generations and spoke highly of all of them. My family's history closely tracks the Olsons in that Grandpa Odin Stengham homesteaded in McKenzie County in the early 1900s and founded our bank in 1910 in Arnegard. Our bank was the only bank out of 19 banks in McKenzie County to survive the Great Depression in the 1930s, and thus our survivors of those tough times, just like the Olsons were. Those tough times made our memories, our lasting memories, habits and practices that helped these strong people survive and prosper. They didn't like borrowing money much because they saw what happened when prices dropped or drought came, and it was hard to pay it back. My grandfather Odin and Dad Lee respected customers like the Olsons because their word was better than any piece of paper you could put in a file. This iconic ranch is one that should be the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame. When you drive into the yard, you see the views of the beautiful Badlands, and think about the founders and subsequent generations had to do to get to this place today. You can have some appreciation of the tough, hardworking Scandinavians involved. The Olson family, with their quiet, humble legacy, are remarkable in making the ranch better for each generation, working hard to ensure it is better for the future. The family and the great people they have always been, and hardworking, diligent, and reliable to a way of life on a North Dakota legendary ranch. With sincere appreciation, I ask for your nomination for the Olson Ranch for the Cowboy Hall of Fame. Truly a North Dakota legend family representing ranch life in Western North Dakota.
Okay, Joyce and I and our families are honored that our ranch is being considered for nomination into the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame. We are pretty old. Started in 1897 by our granddad and continued from then. Granddad rode in and found a ranch in Dunn County that he wanted to work on and make better, and he did that, and oh, here we go. he did that, and we've continued on till today. Granddad started with 3- and 4-year-old steers, and that's what he raised, and we shipped them by rail to Chicago and St. Paul. As the markets changed, the ranch went into 2-year-olds and yearlings, and that continued until the markets changed again. Then it was called calf. We are continuing that, and the 4th generation is coming on, learning management and carrying on the tradition of good ranching. Joyce, you have something to say?
Thank you. I think my sister does a really fine job. And I guess when I was doing, my husband and I combined the binder that we put into the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame that was asked of us. And of course, I really spent a lot of time looking at history and going over and learning a lot of the stories of the ranch that we had heard over and over again from either Granddad or our dad or friends, whatever. But I ran into something else that I know my mom had saved because she was a saver, and my husband would say yes, and we have a lot of tubs to prove that. But anyway, I found this little spiral notebook that she had kept a history of many of the things that she encountered as a rancher's wife. And so I am just going to take her words, and I'm going to tell you what she thought of where she lived. And so this is a little different aspect of the ranch, but I think it's an important person because the rancher's wife, and I know my sister has been an excellent rancher's wife as well as my mom, and I think we need to think about the many things that they had to encounter, especially in the pioneer times of when Ole T and his wife Ora ranched there. So this is what Grandma said. Grandma Ora had written about the ranch and where she shared her feelings of living in the Badlands of western North Dakota. She writes, "I cannot express my feelings looking at the grand scenery of the Badlands, the trees, feeling of the scenery, the clay buttes, the little Missouri River. I love it all, and I can hardly take it in. The air is so fresh, and I have never tired of the beautiful Badlands that we got to ranch in. These words of a pioneer ranch wife says it all. The love of the land and the love of the ranching. This ranch has been in the Olson family for 121 years, has grown through many years by using good management and by, as our dad often said, you take care of the ranch and the ranch will take care of you. Our grandparents and parents, I think Hazel and I both agree that they were just fine examples for our entire families, whether it's great-grandkids that would have known a little bit about their grandparents, or whether it's the ones that Hazel's children that lived on the ranch and were visiting Grandma probably at times when they didn't like you too much, and so they'd go down and talk to they'd go down and talk to Grandma, and everything would be okay. So that legacy, I think, is so important. We've been blessed to have a wonderful examples in our families, and we are very proud of our heritage. And I can't thank Ike, who nominated the ranch to be part of one of the ranches for this honor. And so we thank you all and just say God bless. Thank you. I'll get everything to you. Thank you.
Okay.
Three words come to mind to describe this historical, successful Olson ranch: sustainability, quality, and community. Ole T. Olson his son Gordon, and Gordon's daughter Hazel, and her husband Kelly Jorgensen saw to it that the ranch was always well cared for. The Olson Ranch grows great grass to nourish cattle, utilizes rotational grazing, and maintains many artesian water wells developed to enhance the environment as well as provide for the excellent cattle. All of this points to a ranch's sustainability. The Olsons and Jurgensens were diligent about preserving forages in order to thrive. Talk about sustainability. This ranch sustained the Olson family and descendants without anyone working off the ranch since 1897, when Ole T. Olson migrated from Iowa. This is a big deal. The Olsons defined the word sustainability long before it became a buzzword in agricultural circles. With prudent management, family dedication, perseverance, and a great country to start with, this ranch has epitomized the term sustainability for over 100 years. Our number 2 word for this ranch is quality. From a very young age, I knew the Olson Ranch was an outstanding, high-quality business and ranch from the way my grandparents, who ranched nearby, talked about it. My Aunt Mary Tigham, George Fenton, and Gordon Olson were all friends who were about the same age, and they all lived along the Little Missouri River in northern Dunn County. I grew up hearing stories about all 3 ranches, and the Olson Ranch was held in high esteem by all the neighbors. The 3rd word to describe the Olson Ranch is community. That includes family and neighbors. True to Western tradition, they would all pull together to help each other with roundups, branding, and shipping. Whether you came to work or play, the Olsons' big-hearted hospitality made everyone feel welcome. For me, the most fun part of being there was sitting around the table after a meal, listening to the stories. Just one more way they contributed to the preservation of true ranching tradition, which is what we are all about here today at the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame annual meeting. Ranch territory included not only Dunn County, but McKenzie County as well, where the Olson Ranch was known as one of the largest and best. I always knew that. You may not know it because these people do not toot their own horn. They'll go to bat for causes near to their hearts and their herd. The Olsons were involved in governmental affairs with their membership in what is now known as the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Gordon, Inga, Joyce, my grandparents, and I attended many stockmen's conventions, both state and national. Inga was a charter member of the North Dakota Cattlewomen. They were always passionate, front and center, helping with property rights issues, the estate tax, or other critical causes. They became involved in many important issues affecting the ranching community. Olsons protected and preserved not only their right to ranch, but every other producer's right as well. When not defending the Western way of life, the Olsons were enjoying it and having fun. They engaged in social activities of all kinds, especially church activities. They belonged to every organization in town. Also the Saddle Club drill team, riding in local parades, playing cards, attending 50-year in the Saddle Club meetings. They were very involved in the community. They cared about their families, saw that they attended church and school. Ole T even started a school on the ranch in the early days for youth in the area. Their kids received a college education. Remember, when we think of the Olson Ranch, we think of sustainability, quality, and community. Their passion for taking care of family, friends, neighbors, the cattle, and the ranch deserves lasting recognition. Legacies are created by preceding generations, and I am here to be a voice for those who left a legacy of love and respect for the Olson Ranch. My husband, Alvin Nelson, my grandparents, Louis and Catherine Signalness, my mother and stepdad, Einar and Ann Jorgensen, are saying in my ear, we think this ranch deserves to be inducted in the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame. Please consider voting for the Olson Ranch.